Hi and welcome to urbanchef.se. My name is Sarah Wicklin. Today we're gonna make a pastry, a traditional Swedish pastry that we eat in Scandinavia during Mardi Gras. Mardi Gras in Swedish is fettisdagen, and just as it is, it's translated into Fatty Tuesday. This is an old tradition based on the fact that we once used to be Catholic and we used to go through fast. Modern Sweden doesn't need all of that fat, sugar and gluten, so we're gonna make this pastry updated completely raw. So I'm starting with the almond, the pumpkin seed, and the pumpkin seed. That you will never see on telly. So, as you can see, this has been ground up now to fine sand or finish sand. This is when I add my dates. And to flavor this, I'm going to use ground up cardamom and some vanilla, both organic. So, all those dates are just mixed in there. You can find a few bits, but that's actually not going to do any harm to the pastry. So this coconut oil that I'm going to be using is completely raw as well. It's cold pressed, which means that this is not the kind of trans fat like coconut oil that you hear so much bad things about. This is actually quite good for you. So, as you can see, I haven't melted it. And this is more to get some air into the pastry. So it's almost like crumbly. Starting off with a little bit. And this is more to see if I actually do need that last tablespoon. So, just checking for texture. I'm gonna make a sushi test. A sushi test is like the way you see if a pastry holds together. So, into the sticky sand, I'm gonna just season this up with the balance with salt and sugar. And this is when raw food technique comes in. Because right now this just tastes of sweet almond and spice. And it needs some kind of like bridge to bind it together and actually make it taste like a bun, even if the texture is not gonna be the same as a fluffy bun. So I've got some sea salt and some coconut sugar. When you try this at home, you will also notice that this is where you have to trust your palate. You cannot just trust the recipe. And it takes a little bit of practice too. And it's quite a nice way of practicing, tasting great ingredients. It's just right. I don't even need the rest of the coconut sugar. This is the way it's supposed to be. So, next step will be to make this into shapes. And I'm gonna use half bowl, but I do need something to press it out in. So, this wet sand is gonna be transformed into little half bowls. So now they're all done. So now I'm just going to pop this in the fridge just to set for a little bit. So what I've done here is that I made soaked cashew nuts into pulp. The only thing I've done is that I've soaked cashew nuts overnight, and then I add a little bit of water. And then I just worked it with a hand blender into this grainy pulp. To make this into fluffy cream, I'm gonna add a little bit of honey, and this is organic raw honey. That means it's not processed or farmed. And cashew nuts are quite sweet in themselves, so I don't need to use that much honey. Also put in some vanilla and salt. As you can see, I don't put all the salt in. I'm gonna use that to flavor it later. Depending on how much water the cashew nuts have been soaking in overnight, you might have to add a little bit extra. But this is the consistency, like a creamy nut butter. And to make this a little bit fluffy, I've melted some of the coconut oil that I've been using before, and I've used that ordinary hot tap water to melt it, to keep all the goodness of it. Start with a little, and a few drops of lemon juice. This is literally just drops. Creamy, still needs a little bit more salt. And this is the way you're gonna work it. To get that perfect cream flavor, you need to use your palate. And this is nice and sweet, but it needs a little bit more creaminess. It's still like this kind of grainy butter texture. So this is my take on Semla, the Mardi Gras pastry, completely raw. Indulge yourself with no sugar.